Welcome to the Boneyard with Steve Robertson. As always, I am your good friend and host, Steve Robertson. A little bit tired, to be honest with you. A lot of windshield time here as of late. Went right to bed when I got home from Memphis and woke up a little bit early. Didn't get my nap out, as parents would say. But, yeah, it's been a busy day. Yeah, already. And so this is how we're going to cap our work day. We're going to record the Boneyard for you guys. Got a good show. Got a cool top 10 list for you today, too. Something you never saw coming. I know you like that. I do. I have a lot of people that say, man, I love the top 10 list. I appreciate that. Sometimes that's the delay in the show. I got to figure out what I want to do, or I got to listen to songs and things like that. But, yeah, on the way back, let me see. On the way to Memphis yesterday, I listened to some Joe Rogan, but I also listened to the Leave a Whisper Shinedown album. Great album. It was my gateway album. I was there from the beginning. And then on the way back, finished up the Joe Rogan podcast and then listened to some 90s dance. But that's not going to be on our list today. It just kind of got me to thinking about some things that we can do. Guys, are you keeping up with Jake Mangum Mania? I know you are. And I saw the numbers yesterday that the most purchased Major League Baseball jersey in the world is that of our Jake Mangum. How about that? And I guarantee you this, you got a bunch of kids in your family that love baseball that maybe don't even know who the Tampa Rays are. They want that jersey. They do. You may want one for yourself. But yeah, extremely proud of Jake. I tell you this, when we're right, we're right. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have known and we have pleaded with the Tampa Bay Rays and everybody else to bring Jake up. And it's like one of those things, like, once you get him out on that field, you're not going to be able to take him off. And he goes from the 8-hole to the cleanup spot yesterday. Absolutely incredible. Goes 1 for 4 today. Leads the Rays in hits. The very first pitch he sees from Paul Skeens, he takes the other way. And, man, it is so rewarding because we all love Jake so much. And we all know how hard he has worked to get to this point. 29-year-old rookie, man. It just doesn't work out like that very often. And to be honest with you, this was kind of make or break, right? I mean, he goes to spring training and you begin to start thinking about that. I mean, how many Bulldogs do you know go spend a couple of years in the minors and then they're out of the game? But Jake is stuck with it. And as I tweeted out yesterday, he is exactly what we all said he was, and now we're getting to see it on the grandest stage of all. It's so incredibly rewarding, and if you guys know John and Stacy Mangum and everybody involved in the Mangum family, the Nowells, Verminati's, all those people, if you know the people that have loved Jake before he was Jake, right? You know how special that is for him, and I think the Rays did a great job kind of chronicling Jake's journey, had his family interviewed. It's very, very special. And it makes me feel like this. The fact that Jake makes it makes us feel like we all kind of made it, right? Because I feel like that we all have an emotional investment. Yes, it's Jake. He's the guy that had to ride the bus and spend so much time kind of away from his family, chasing a dream that he wasn't sure was going to come true. And we were all right there with him. But we weren't with him there those nights when he had to get back on the bus and not get the call. And, it's so interesting. I interviewed him some time ago, and he told me that he was so much closer to his college baseball teammates. And he goes, it's so different in the minors because, like, you don't hang out together. There's some of the guys you only see them at the ballpark or when you get on the bus. And then everybody's kind of putting in their earbuds, kind of getting locked in for the ball game. And so there's not a lot of camaraderie. It's not like Bull Durham, right? And so I share that with you because I think it's important. There are some big things that change when you go from the college game. But as Jake says, in college, you're doing everything together. You're constantly together. So you build these bonds and you get to know each other as friends. And you get in the minor leagues, you spend a lot of time in hotel rooms, kind of by yourself. And that's an aspect of it that I don't think a lot of people are prepared for. But also, too, when you think about it, how special it is at Mississippi State. We talk about how playing at places like Mississippi State and OSU and Arkansas, they kind of get you ready for professional baseball. In those low A games, you go from playing in front of 10, 15,000 people at Dudy Noble to playing in front of 100. So that there's no crowd there that's intimidating. And so the fact now that Jake is playing in the big show, all those great Saturdays in the SEC, when he played in front of all these rabid fan bases, it prepared him for this moment. So, no, in no way at any point did I ever consider that Jake would ever have a moment that was too big for him, because he's built for it. He's been preparing for this his entire life, and it's so incredibly rewarding for all of us. I mean, it truly is, because Jake is our guy. And you've heard me say on the show before, the thing that made Jake so special off the field, I mean, you know what he could do on the field. But I would submit to you, outside of maybe Dak Prescott and still maybe at the same level, and maybe Jake got more of it than Dak did, because Dak was somewhat protected, right? Jake's playing 50-plus games a year. And there's little boys and girls and, collectors and people like that after every game, wanting their 5 minutes with Jake. And he gave it to them willingly. I remember times going out there and there'd be the barricade set up and there'd be, an army of 8 and 9-year-old little baseball players, and Jake would say, hey guys, I'm going to stay until everybody gets their picture and everybody gets everything signed. And I can't count how many times that I heard him kind of give that speech. Just the assurance that, hey guys, let's just have an orderly get together here, because I'm not leaving until you guys have all had your time. He's so incredibly charitable. And that's what I think that makes him so special, is because he saw everybody. He made them feel important to him. And so when you think about what he's doing now, there's so many people cheering for him, not just because of the ball player that he is, but the person that he is. Let's thank our friends at Bulldog Burger Company, longtime sponsors of this show. Man, I love Bulldog Burger Company. I know that Jake Mankham's ate there before too, because I've seen him there. Yeah, that's right. Bulldog Burger Company, the place where champions go to eat. You need to be a champion in your own life. Maybe you're not a ball player, but you can win today by recommending Bulldog Burger Company for lunch or dinner, because everybody wins when you go to Bulldog Burger Company. A very, very diverse menu. Yes, they're known for the hamburgers, and they specialize in those, but there's so many other options to choose from. The Sloppy Joe sliders are always a great lunch portion. That BLT salad, a very healthy alternative to some other things you could get in life. I prefer it grilled. You may like it fried. I'm not judging. But it's probably the most substantial and tasty salad that I've ever eaten. It's outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. Great service, great food at a great price, great atmosphere, and still integrity in pricing. I mean, guys, we're 5 years removed from COVID, and there's some people that are still tacking on that convenience charge. I mean, you're still paying COVID-era pricing, even though the COVID virus is no longer the threat that it once was. But the folks at Bulldog Burger Company, they're never changed. They never tried to gig you, man. They never did it. And there's some integrity with that. And I like to do business with people that have integrity, and you do too. So when you go put your feet under their table, you're well aware of the fact they're not trying to get over you and give you more or less for more. They didn't reduce the portions and then raise the prices like so many other people did. These are people of integrity. 3 great locations to serve you: University Drive in Stark Vegas, Gloucester Street there in Tupelo, Lake Harbor Drive in the Ridge and Flowwood area. Have the spring rolls as your appetizer. They'll make you and everybody around you better looking. And ride that ride home with that chocolate shake. You can ride it home with a smile. Bulldog Burger Company, the place where people go to meet. M-E-A-T. All right, we had a little baseball game last night in Memphis, and didn't get off to a great start. We didn't. And the thing that I have learned, and I have tried to impress upon people, okay, there's a couple things. Baseball's not football, okay? You're not going to show up and just kind of physically dominate people. You got to go out there and play. You got to execute. And all the coaching and all the training and everything else in the world you do, you step up to that plate by yourself. You don't just go out there and pile drive the pitcher. You got to go hit a baseball. More times than not, you got to hit his pitch. And Caden Robinson pitched for them. He's a former weekend starter, moved to the midweek to kind of regain his form. He's never been necessarily a winning pitcher at Memphis, and some of that's just kind of a byproduct of the program they are right now. That's not a criticism of him. But he pitched well against us. And I honestly think this, too. I talked to Noah Sullivan a little bit about this post-game. As tired as I am from being on the road, I can only begin to imagine how it is for them. Guys, I sit in the press box. I get all the Coke Zeros I can drink and sit there, peck away on a keyboard, and then, they get to travel a little better than I do. But I'm tired, and I'm not out there physically exerting myself. Spend a lot of time in hotel rooms, but they do even more. Like, they go up the day before. I get there the day of the game. And in addition to all of that, they got to maintain their studies. And then if you've got a personal relationship, you've got that. Significant others kind of know what they're signing on for, right? When you date a college athlete, their time is at a premium. And so there's a lot of stressors in the life of these players. And so they're off today. They get the full day off today. And Noah kind of looked at me and said, yeah, we need it. Yeah, we need the day off, not just from a physical standpoint, but from the mental standpoint. And I think that was a factor early in this ball game. We did not look sharp early in this ball game. And I thought we were going to give it away right out of the gate. I really did. It was just a comedy of errors just to kind of start this ball game. And that's the thing that I think that a very loyal fan base kind of finds unbelievable, is that we're still having these issues. But Garrett Fry in the lineup last night, played in left field. He has never played outfield before in his life, as you guys know. Not a real game. So, we're trying to push some buttons to get the best bats in the order. And so Fry starts out in left, and we started Michael O'Brien. Now, I'm a big Bryce Chance guy. I think Bryce is a glue guy. But I think last night's move to sit Bryce early was really more about kind of protecting Fry as a defender. And Bryce has been really good in center field. But Michael O'Brien might have a little bit better range. And so when I saw that, I said, I kind of get this, right? Give Michael O'Brien a chance to run things down in the left center field gap, because Fry may not be able to track a baseball the same way. And again, Bryce has done a good job. Bryce has surprised me in center field. To be honest with you, I thought he'd be a career left fielder, but he's done a good job. But again, I think Michael O'Brien maybe about a half step faster and a little bigger catch radius. So I kind of understood what we were doing there. I don't like Bryce's bat being out of lineup, even though he struggled a little bit as of late. But he's a veteran guy that's seen a ton of SEC pitching. And so that's kind of my thoughts on that whole thing. But Fry opens up a 4-pitch walk, and you think, we're fixing to smash this guy. And what do you know? We hit a ground ball to second. Could have been a double play, but Ace beats it out and ends up at second on the wild pitch. And then Sullivan, we get up chasing a changeup and foul out down the right field line. Reese takes third, and then Hines on a 2-0 count pops up to center field. And Hunter Hines playing exceptionally well right now. This was a situation where he didn't come through, and leads the team currently in SEC hits with 12. Did you know that? Yeah, it's true. Leads Mississippi State in SEC play with 12 hits. All right, bottom of one, Perez gets up a single here, and they rule it a single. I would have ruled it an error. And that thing was pretty wicked, too. Off the bat, I'm sitting behind home plate. I'm seeing it. It's a sinking line drive, basically right at Gat Sanders. And it had a bit of a tail on it. And so he tries to play it off the hop, doesn't get it clean, can't find it for a second, and then throws to first. I don't know if it's a routine play, but it's a play you got to make, right? I'm not going to make an excuse for that. An SEC-level second baseman's got to make that play. And Gadd will tell you the same thing. He's got to make that play. Fortunately, it didn't come back to bite us. We get a fly out, and then we have a throwing error here where Ross gets a little bit too ambitious here, and we try to pick off the runner at first. Perez, who, we've been trying to keep him close because he is a threat to steal, and we throw the ball into right field, allows him to take second. But give Noah Sullivan a lot of credit. He gets a strikeout look and then a routine ground out to short. I thought Dylan Cupp played really well last night. All right, top of second, we go 1, 2, 3. Bottom of second, they get a one-out single, but then we kind of get around it, and that concludes the day for Noah Sullivan. And that's one of the things that I think about. It's like, people don't understand your pitching is about your lower half. It's not just your arm. Everybody thinks about arm fatigue and arm care and, using those bands to be balanced up there to protect the labrum and all that kind of stuff. But when you pitch, there's so much pushing off the rubber, and there's all the landing. So there's a lot of wear and tear in your lower half. And so when Noah Sullivan's coming out of these games, he's still got to hit. And so I think in the end that you have to manage that aspect of it too. It's true. But that's the end of it for him. State goes 1, 2, 3 here in the third. And again, give Robinson some credit. He was mixing and matching, and we were having trouble with that changeup. All right, Creek Robertson from Oxford, Mississippi. I'm sure we're related. Singles to right. And then Perez, we get the ground ball here, and we're not able to get two. The throw to first is high. It was going to be a quick turn, but probably should have been able to make the play here. Perez, again, very quick down the line. But we force a runner at second, can't complete the double play, and then he's still second. And then we walk Vasseur. We go out there and talk about it, and it's like, you know what? Hey, this is kind of getting away from us here. We need to get Pruitt settled down, And he was the guy we expected to be a factor on the weekends. But, he's had some decent outings in the midweek and some others that aren't so good. So that, in some ways, that's been a disappointment. I know he hadn't been 100% healthy, but that's one of those guys that you signed out of the portal you expected to be a real challenge to start on the weekends. And now here he is, the first guy to bullpen, the second guy on the mound in a midweek game. That's a sign that maybe things didn't go as well as we'd hoped, right? All right, so Nixon then grounds out to the pitcher. Runner takes third. And then Smith singles to third. We just couldn't come up with it, right? I mean, it's just one of these crazy plays. Goes off his glove, run scores. Smith still second, and then Tucker singles into center field. And a couple runs score, and it's 3-0. And I didn't even go look at social media or the message board. It's difficult for me to do that when I'm doing a play-by-play. But I know at this point you guys were electric. I know. I completely understand. But again, I always caution people, baseball's a long game. Baseball's a long season. Our top of four we get down too quickly, and then great at-bat by Hunter Hines. I mean, a great at-bat. He gets down 0-2 in this count, works it to 2-2, fouls a couple balls off, gets a ball down to work it full, fouls the ball back, and then finally gets a pitch he wants, and he absolutely unloads on it. Solo shot to right center. That ties him with Will Clark. Second all-time on the Mississippi State home runs career record list. The only name ahead of him is Rafael Palmeiro. That's some elite company. Now, yes, Rafi and Will did it in 3 years. I don't need the caveat, but the numbers are the numbers. Richard Lee played 4 years too and probably set an RBI record that will never be surpassed, I would suspect. It's ridiculous what a great job Richard Lee did. I mean, he's in the Ron Polk Ring of Honor for a reason. But State's on the board here. Nolan Stevenson flies out to left. We got to get Nolan going. We really do. Bottom of four, bring in McPherson. And Memphis didn't know it yet, and maybe we didn't either, but the game was over as soon as Ryan McPherson got on the bump. What an outstanding effort from a young freshman that has had a couple of outings that have been a little bit shaky, but, man, he was absolutely dominant last night. Gives up a bunt single to open the bottom of four. That's it. That's it. That's all he allowed the entire outing. Ends up getting his second win of the year. Now, Turner gets on base and still second, and then we strike out Sutton, and Turner takes third, and then Robertson strikes out swinging, and Perez strikes out looking. And I don't want to just glaze over that. You've got one run that you scored. They're trying to answer back and get that run back to push that lead back out to 3 runs. And then McPherson's got to barrel down here, and with one down, you got to get a non-productive out, right? You got to get a strikeout. You got to get a pop-up on the infield, a short fly ball. You got to get something that will not allow the runner to advance. And he gets a guy swinging. And then Perez, who has been a very difficult out, gets behind him 3-0, and then works back and strikes him out looking. Really, 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 really good outing for him, and really a good first inning. Top of 5, we go 1, 2, 3, and as I told you, you already know the punchline with McPherson. He retires 12 in a row. Yeah, crazy, right? Memphis goes 1, 2, 3 in the 5th, and then in the 6th, State gets even here. Dylan Cupp, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know if I wouldn't move him to lead off. And I had this discussion last night with one of our former players, and the reason, I like him in the 9-hole because, number one, it gives you speed in the 9-hole. So your leadoff hitter, more times than not, is going to have a chance to hit with a runner on and a pitcher in the stretch. And typically your leadoff guy should be a guy that can handle the bat. Now, we hadn't been able to settle on a leadoff guy, but there's a part of me that thinks, man, with Kupp's on-base percentage where it is and how the kid gets up there and fight at every at-bat, I don't know that I wouldn't have him leading off. I'm not second-guessing. I'm just we're just talking among friends here. I don't know that I wouldn't do that. Get him to lead off, give him more bats over the course of 9 innings. And with his on-base percentage, that's going to give Reese, Sullivan, and Hines a much better chance to hit with a runner on. I don't know. It's just how I see it. And again, maybe they're not doing it for a reason. Maybe, again, we're just kind of fired up about him being 9-hole. You can turn the order over. I get that aspect of it too. But I think when Kupp is able to get on base as often as he is, and the fact now that he's starting to crank some doubles, I might give it a shot. I'm just saying. All right, Fry lines out to left and nearly hit that ball out of the ballpark. I mean, he hit that ball a ton. Another lengthy at bat too. We talk about guys fighting. He gets down 0-2 in this count, takes a ball, and it's foul, 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 foul. Works the count full. And then, I don't know that the guy robbed it, but he caught it right at the fence. And that fence is not like a 10-foot fence. Great at bat. Kupp takes third. Reese then lines out to center, and it really wasn't that deep a ball. But, again, all due respect to Memphis, I don't think they've got a guy in that outfield that can throw us out. So Kupp scores. It's 3-2, and you feel like, okay, we're back in this thing. Things are settling, right? We're getting a hold from McPherson. We're starting to get around a little bit here. Starting to get some loud outs, too. Good contact from Kupp, good contact from Fry, good contact from Reese, and then good contact from Noah Sullivan as he hits a solo shot to left center. There was no doubt about it once it left the bat. And then Hines flies out to left and actually poked that ball out there pretty good. But now it's a tie ball game. I turned to the writer from the Memphis Commercial Appeal. And I said, please forgive me if this sounds a little bit presumptuous, but this ball game is over. Mississippi State is going to win this game. He goes, look at, oh, you think? I said, I do. I said, because Robinson's about to leave the game. State's going to get into this midweek bullpen, and the McPherson kid seems to be dealing. I think the game is over. Mississippi State's going to be victorious. After this inning, I think he believed me. Because Memphis goes 1-2-3 as McPherson strikes out the side swinging. Very efficient the first couple of bats. Turner, again, kind of an ornery guy up there, but we finally get him on a full count swinging. Top of 7 here, and State takes the lead here. They bring in Donahue from Booneville, Mississippi. I know we got some Booneville listeners out there. I know you guys are excited that to have a guy playing beyond the junior college level. I mean, you're always happy that any kid gets a chance to play beyond senior day. But when a guy gets to go play D1 baseball or D1 basketball or football, it's a big deal for the community. And even though this didn't work out well for him, we're very proud of him. Okay? So he walks Stevens, and then Ross gets the ground out here on a sac bunt. And I thought it was a really well-placed bunt because they basically were going to run the wheel play. If you know anything about baseball, basically what you do is you have the third baseman kind of crash, and you have somebody shift in there at second. Everybody kind of rolls around because ideally what you want to do is kill the leadoff runner. And so the third baseman is just coming. I mean, he's basically within smell shot of Highfield. But instead, we bunt it the other way, which is a lot safer to do because of the fact, first baseman's got to hold the runner. If the first baseman crashes, right, then you got a bigger lead. So it kind of defeats the purpose of having a third baseman crash. So the first baseman's got to stay back and hold the runner. And so Ross, this is an undervalued part of this ball game. He gets the bunt down, pushes it by the pitcher to the right side. The only play is to first. And that's one of those situations, if you're Memphis, you just want to take the out. But if you're Ross Highfield, you want to make them realize their only play is to first base. And he did. Really good job there. I didn't want to speak too much about a bunt, but I love the short game. And I think Ross Highfield is probably better at the short game than most of the guys we have on the team. Stevenson takes third on a wild pitch. So here we are now, less than 2 outs with the go-ahead run. And you think, hey, we need some situational hitting here. We need something good to happen for us. Well, Gatt ends up walking. And I like the fact that Gatt didn't try to do too much. Now you start thinking, right, if you're Memphis, the wheels are always turning. You're trying to orchestrate something. And maybe you don't give Gatt anything to elevate because of the fact you're thinking, hey, if we walk him, it's not the worst thing. We got the 8-hole hitter, Michael O'Brien, a younger guy that doesn't have a lot of at-bats, even though he's fleet of foot. Maybe I feel like I can get him. And maybe I can get him to coax him into a double play. That way that ground ball to second doesn't get the run home. It gets me out of the inning. And so I don't think that they necessarily pitched around Gatlin Sanders, but they weren't going to give him anything up in the zone that he could elevate and get the routine fly ball and get the run home. So we pinch hit with Reeves. And Sawyer Reeves really put a charge into this thing. And it one hops to left fielder. And for a second there, I thought the left fielder was going to come up on it. That thing was sinking so quick. I thought, man, if he lays out for here, everybody may score. But, again, great job of hitting here on a 2-2 count. We lined it in the left, run scores, and then Cup grounds into the double play. And that retires the side, but now the Bulldogs have scored 4 straight. Bryce Chance takes over in center for Michael O'Brien. Reeves had pinch hit for O'Brien, and then Chance takes over defensively. And again, McPherson just cruising here. 1, 2, 3. Couple more punchies. Top of 8, State gets a very important insurance run. And how many times have we gone through that this year? You got a little bit of a lead. You got to expand. Give a little more margin for error. Well, Fry doubles down the right field line. And for a second, I thought they were going to let him take a chance to take third. But, obviously in this situation, you want to play the percentages. The double's good. And rather than having to bunt him over, you got some guys coming up, right? You got 2, 3, and 4 come up. So you got 3 chances to get the base hit to get him on. Right, to get him around and give yourself a little more cushion. Reese flies out to left, but it's not deep enough to advance the runner. Sullivan does fly out to center. That ends up being a sac fly. So with 2 outs, Hunter Hines comes up, and how many times have we seen it this year where maybe he comes up in a big situation, maybe tries to do a little bit too much. This time they pitch around him. They're like, I'm not going to let this guy kill me. And they walk him on 4 pitches. Nolan Stevens comes up, one of the better approaches I've seen him have this year, because you want to work middle of the field. You do. And that's what he does. Kind of a topper that kind of gets through there, and he's so strong. I mean, that ball's getting through there quick. He is a middle of the order type guy next year, and really hit this baseball hard, even though it didn't travel very far. Singles back up the middle, run scores. And again, how many times have we needed that 2-out base hit just to either get even or to get ahead or to expand the lead and not been able to get it? So really good job here from Nolan. Heifel then walks, and it's like all of a sudden you look up, man, I mean, the bases are loaded here, right? I mean, it's just it's a crazy thing, And then Gatt Sanders comes up and strikes out looking. Again, some is good, but more is better, right? And so we win the game 5-3, but right here I need Gatt to come through. I can't have Gatt striking out looking. And he knows that too. Bottom 8, we make a change here and bring in Stone Simmons. And Stone's throwing a lot more strikes these days. I don't know that I would move him back to Sundays. I think he got kind of unfairly maligned at Oklahoma State. We got 3 ground balls in an inning to a fielder, and he couldn't get an out. Give me the ground balls that get through over the home runs and the line drives in the gap. That's just me. But Stone comes in, he gets Vasur to strike out swinging. Nixon, they rule this a hit, and it probably was. It's kind of a high hopper to first, and Hines can't get it clean. And so not a routine play, so I would probably have erred on the side of a single there too. And then Smith singles through the left side, and you think, okay, here they go. They got the tying runs on base. And then Stone's like, no, this thing is over. Back-to-back strikeouts looking, one of them on 3 pitches. Outstanding. All right, top of 9. Stay goes 1, 2, 3, and bottom of 9. We just kind of work through it. And then Turner pops up to the third baseman. How many times have you seen it, right? I mean, like in this count, it's a full count. And how many times, for those of you that have played, coached, or really been invested in baseball, when you get to the 9th in a close ball game, it feels like when the leadoff guy gets on, it's like he scores 675,000% of the time. That's how it feels. But when you get that first out, it's almost like things kind of begin to cascade in your favor. That's kind of what happens here. You get the lengthy at bat with Turner, again, who had proven to be a very difficult out on the night. You get him to pop up to ace, and then you get Fogel to ground out to first. Just as routine as you could ever ask for. And then he gets Creek Robertson, my distant cousin, to strike out swinging on 4 pitches. Absolutely outstanding effort. Especially from the Bulldog pitching staff. Again, we made some mistakes early in this ball game. I just wanted to scream out, wake up. Wake up. And somebody in the crowd did. But again, when when you score 3 in the third and then you don't get a base runner for 4 innings, it's very difficult to mount a comeback. I mean, it truly is. And we've been on the other side of that thing too. Looking at our box score here, is your Bulldogs advance to 17-12. Memphis drops to 11-17. Garrett Fry, 1 for 3, also had a walk. So 4 plate appearances, and half of them he gets on base. Not to mention one of the ones he didn't, he nearly hit a home run. Reed Stallman comes in and pinch hits late. That's a defensive replacement, right? Ace Reese goes 0 for 3, which means he's probably in store for a good weekend. Noah Sullivan goes 1 for 4 with a solo home run. Hunter Hines also 1 for 3 with a solo home run and a walk. Nolan Stevens 1 for 3 with that ground ball back up the middle and a walk. So again, we're getting on base. Rice Highfield goes 0 for 2, has the sac bunt, and then also is walked. Gatlin Sanders 0 for 3, but also is walked. If memory serves me correct, 7 of 9 starters reached base in the ballgame. Wasn't a great offensive day, but you guys finding a way to get on base, and sometimes that's what you got to do. But pitching-wise, again, Noah Sullivan, the scoreless streak continues. 2 innings, 2 hits, no runs. His record remains 0-0. His ERA 0.00. No walks in the game and had the 1 strikeout just through 30 pitches. Jacob Pruitt was tagged with the 3 runs, 3 hits, 3 runs, also a walk. And I just don't know what we're going to do with him. I mean, we need him to find it and be good. But Ryan McPherson to the rescue. Goes 4 innings, allows 1 hit, and that was the first hitter he faced. Remember the bunt single. And then 8 strikeouts, no walks. He faced 13 hitters on 52 pitches. Absolutely outstanding effort. And then Stone comes in, 2 innings, 2 hits, 4 strikeouts, no walks. Say we're making them earn their way on. And tip of the cap to Cade Robinson. I mean, I know he's a guy that you lose your starting job and you have to go to the midweek. I don't care what kind of competitor you are. That's something that could rock your confidence a little bit. I thought he went out there and competed well against your Bulldogs. 5 innings pitched, 2 hits, 2 runs, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk, 91 pitches. So probably a guy you look at now if you're Coach Matt Reiser and think, you know what, maybe we could move him back to the weekend. Maybe. We'll see. We'll talk more about the South Carolina series on Friday's show. But I wanted to quickly kind of take a look around the league from last night. And you can go read right now the article that I wrote based on Paul Maneri's comments from last night and today. And one thing that Maneri said I thought was interesting. He goes, if you've ever been to Starkville, Mississippi and competed against Mississippi State, that is the farthest thing from an easy game. It's true. It's true. And again, interesting note too, Maneri going to wear his 4th set of school colors. That's always interesting. He came here as a player with UNO, came back as a coach with Notre Dame, came back with LSU. Now he's coming back with South Carolina. But looking around the league last night, our friends from Queens, they lasted 7 innings at Foley Field in Georgia, and they get beat 21-1. The Bulldogs put up snowmen in the 5th and the 6th, so that's 16 of their 5 runs come right there. That thing is over. Queens got 4 hits in the ballgame. 2 of them came from Lennox Lively. Jackson State travels to Oxford. They lose in 7. The Rebels walk it off in the 7th inning with 4 runs in the 7th to complete the mercy ruling. Joseph Eichelberger, still kind of a freak, man. It's weird to me that he's still at Jackson State as well as he hits the baseball. He is one of the nation's leading hitters. He goes 4 for 4 in that game last night against Ole Miss's pitching. True story. Tennessee and Tennessee Tech go the distance as the Volunteers win 7-1 over Tennessee Tech. North Florida puts up a little bit of a challenge against Florida. You know, Florida midweeks is always just kind of been optional for them. But, man, you look up midway through this ball game, and it's 3-3, and then the Gators put up 5 there in the 6th and basically put the game away, and they ultimately win 8-4. Justin Nadu with a 2-for-4 ball game and a home run. Second baseman filling in for Curland. Incarnate Word goes to A&M and makes the Aggies feel a little bit better about life. A lot of bad things happening with Texas A&M these days. But the Aggies win 21-1. 21-1. And a lot of walks in this ball game. The Aggies only with 13 hits. 21 runs on 13 hits. They score 11 in the 3rd. That's a tough night. Arkansas Pine Bluff, this looked more like a football score. Missouri wins it 25-10. But again, you look up at this thing, and guys, it's a 5-3 ball game after 3, and then Missouri puts up 10 in the 4th and 9 in the 5th. The Gold Lions are 5-24 for a reason, and I'm sure the folks in Missouri are happy to get a win anywhere they can get one. Arkansas and Grambling. And again, I don't know what's going on with the SEC. I don't understand how difficult it is. I don't know their job. But like right now, if you go to the SEC scoreboard, they have Grambling beating Arkansas 7-4. That's what they have listed. Now, that's not correct, but that's what they have listed. And these are the things, man, and my wife always says, you shouldn't worry about these things so much. You know, I believe that there should be an expectation of excellence, and especially when you are the kind of person that your mantra is it just means more. Well, it's pretty clear that to whoever is inputting these scores on a weekly basis, it doesn't mean more to them. If it meant more to them, then they would do it right. And those are the things that just don't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense to me that Arkansas can beat Grambling by a score of 7-4, and that's a surprise in and of itself. But then the Southeastern Conference website will have Grambling listed as the winner. Now, people can go find that information, and most people look at it and say, yeah, something's not right here because Grambling's not 27-3. They're not. And Arkansas is not 10-17. But, you know, for a casual fan just kind of cruising through looking at the scoreboard, how many people are going to believe that for a while? That Grambling beat Arkansas? That stuff just it irritates me. And my wife will tell me, you know, you showing this things bother. They do bother me. I take pride in what I do. I expect other people to do the same, especially people that I depend on. South Carolina, of course, mercy rules Prez. We talked about that earlier. It was a great ball game for 5 innings. It was 2-1 in favor of the Gamecocks, and then they kind of break it open against the bullpen with 5 in the 6th, 4 in the 7th to mercy rule the game 11-1. Nathan Hall has been the leadoff hitter for South Carolina. But Paul Maneri has said, you know what, I got to give him more run-driving opportunities, and so they're moving him to 3-hole and trying to get Petrie to the 4. He says, yeah, we got 2 kids putting a lot of pressure on them. We need both those guys to be outstanding. He said, now we got to figure out 1 and 2. We got to get runners on in front of them. So they've got a couple good hitters I guess it was against North Carolina. They hit back-to-back home runs to start the game, and that was pretty much the game, right? And then they hit a couple solo home runs or a couple of RBI singles against Tennessee on Sunday, and that's the game, right? Western Kentucky, I told you guys this could be an interesting one, and it proved to be, and it goes to extra innings. And I guess maybe we should check the Vanderbilt Twitter account to be sure that our friends at the SEC office did not misreport their score too. And as we look up Vandy Boys, which I think is one of the lamest things, it's lame, man. It is. Yeah, so they win it. Vanderbilt wins at 5-4. But Western Kentucky, man, they're trailing much of this ball game. They get up 1-0. They're down 3-1 after 2, and it kind of stayed there for a while. The Commodores tack on a run there in the 6th to make it a 4-2 ball game. And next thing you know, Western Kentucky with 3 in the 8th to tie it. No score in the 9th, and they go 10 innings, and then Vanderbilt walks it off there to win 5-4. I'm telling you, this Vanderbilt team is sinking. The whole program sinking. UAB and Auburn. Been an interesting stretch for the Auburn Tigers here as of late. I don't know if you guys have kept up, but tough weekend against Georgia, obviously. And a lot of people will. And I said beginning of the year, I thought that Auburn was going to be a better team than some people were projecting. But there's going to be up and down. I think they're a middle-of-the-road team. But they get beat by UAB last night, 4-2. The Blazers now 17-12. Auburn drops to 20-9. And big weekend this weekend, obviously, is Auburn and Alabama get together. That's going to be big. Cooper McMurray, 3 for 4 in the ball game for the Tigers. One of my favorite players in the league that nobody really talks about. That guy is really good. They got Ike Irish and McMurray, but not a lot around them. Texas State in San Marcos, Texas, beats Texas. The Bobcats were 13-15 before the game, 4-5 in their league, and they beat number 5 Texas 5-3 with 4 in the 8th. It's a 2-run ball game headed to the 8th, and Texas State gets 4. Texas gets 1 back there in the 9th, but that's pretty much it. Jaden DePlanter played pretty well against Mississippi State, 2 for 3 in the ball game. But Texas State, if I'm not mistaken, Texas State went into College Station and beat them, and now they've beaten Texas. Maybe they should print T-shirts. Oklahoma with a big bounce-back win. Texas Tech hadn't been as good as most people expect this year. They've been better in conference, but non-conference was not good for them. But Oklahoma gets them 8-6, and it really was, Oklahoma was kind of cruising for a while. It was an 8-3 ball game going to the 8th. The Red Raiders with 1 in the bottom of the 8th and 2 in the 9th to make it a little more interesting. But, man, Oklahoma pitched this thing exceptionally well. They hold Texas Tech to just 5 hits in the ball game. And Oklahoma's probably thinking they should have done more. They had 14 hits, 8 runs on 14 hits. Samford, our friends at Samford, they gave Alabama all they wanted and then some. And you look up there, and it's just like, okay, well, it's a 10-2 ball game in the 3rd, Steve. Alabama cruised. No, they didn't, because they gave up 7 runs in the 7th. Nuts, man. That's Jeffrey Ince and those guys, right? It's true. Trey Higgins over there, too. But 7 runs in the 7th, and all of a sudden, man, it is a 10-9 ball game. Alabama gets a run back in the bottom of the 8th, and they win it 11-9. But those folks at Samford, man, they're pretty well coached. I mean, honest with them. They may not have the talent that some of these SEC teams do, but in their league, I think they're going to be pretty good. Louisiana Tech goes to LSU, and they get beat 12-3. And not a great performance, I guess. Ethan Fry, the guy that hit the solo shot to open up a scoring against Pico, hits and goes 3 for 4, hits another home run. But that's your scoreboard update. And again, some interesting scores around the league. There was some wins for some teams you didn't expect to win, and there were some other close calls. And that's how these midweek games are getting, man. I mean, everybody's trying to save all their arms for the weekend if they can. And so these mid-major teams are showing up saying, hey, we can hit their midweek pitching. And you think to yourself, we should be able to hit their midweek pitching. But this is their Super Bowl. And so it didn't just happen to us. We won last night. But Texas gets beat. Texas A&M destroys Incarnate Word. But, man, look at, Arkansas and Vandy nearly got beat. You can't take anything for granted. You're always the hunted in this conference. We forgot to do it, so we'll do it now. Our player of the game last night, it's got to be Ryan McPherson, right? Your player of the game brought to you by closewithblair.com. Blair is my friend, your friend, our collective friend in the mortgage industry. 601-500-2344. Again, 601-500-2344. Get Blair's 24 years of expertise working for you. He knows how to construct loans to get them through the underwriting process and get you into your new home when many others don't. So whether you're looking for your first home, your next home, or your retirement home, look no further than closewithblair.com. Bulldog through and through, rides the wave of emotion just like you do. Win, lose, draw. I can tell you he is in my group text, and I get to read his commentary. So he is a Bulldog through and through, has a place here in town, and multiple season ticket holder. So when you do business with Blair, you're keeping business in the family, which means it'll probably wind back up in the hands of Mississippi State at some point. That's important to me. Maybe it's not to you, but it is to me. I like to do business with Bulldogs when we can. So visit closewithblair.com. And again, Ryan McPherson retires 12 in a row last night, earns his second win of the campaign. Absolutely outstanding effort. And again, we were a little bit shaky at times last night, and then Ryan came in and really settled the game. And it felt like that, you need a hold. He gives you a hold, and then Stone Simmons comes in and works the final two innings and gives you the save there. But, I don't know that McPherson may not develop into a starter for next year. Goodness, we may need him this year. But, again, a couple shaky outings, but nice bounce back for him. Your closed Blair player of the game, Ryan McPherson. All right, let's jump into our top 10 list, brought to you by Kalido Guitars. Be sure and check it out, Calido guitars.com. Kalido Guitars is a company out of Lake Jackson, Texas, that is owned and operated by some Mississippi State Bulldogs. And again, I like to keep business in the family whenever we can. I know many of you probably feel the same way. And so if you have a player in your life, I would encourage you to check it out. And, really happy with my guitar stand. The construction's very, very good. And I think that's one of those things you look at, too, and you feel really good about. Their exemplary service, their great selection, their expertise, whether you're looking for an electric guitar, a classical guitar, an acoustic guitar, you can find it there, along with, gig bags, accessories, anything you need, strings. You can find everything you need at KalidoGuitars.com. And one of the cool things, too, and I think this may be the best thing about having them along as a sponsor, is that when you make a purchase through them, you just mentioned the promo code BSR, right? And you get 10% off your purchase, no shipping, no sales tax unless you live in the state of Texas, and then 5% of your purchase will be donated to the Bulldog Initiative / Bulldog Excellence Fund. So again, some money's getting back into the hands of Mississippi State. You get a high-quality instrument, number one. You get to help some other Bulldogs, two. And number three, you're helping Mississippi State. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And this is not some fly-by-night company. You can check it out. Go to KalidoGuitars.com and check them out, and you'll be glad that you did. All right, top 10 list today. I promise you guys something different. It's going to be American hits with foreign titles. Now, some of these songs are actually in foreign language through and through. Some of them kind of mix back and forth. A lot of Spanish in this, and some Spanglish, I guess you could say. There's some French stuff, some German stuff. It's all a little bit different. But American hits, foreign, right? Foreign titles. Number 10, a guy that I actually opened the show for years ago. And somewhere around here, I have a framed cocktail napkin that says, "To Steve, good luck in your musical career, Robbie Neville." Loved Robbie Neville. I don't know that he got enough respect. The songwriting maybe not been the strong suit. He had some really good tracks. But the one that fits our list today is C'est La Vie. Yeah, you know it, C'est La Vie. It's interesting, too. He has, some Spanish singers singing background in the vocal and singing French. Yeah, how cool is that? But C'est La Vie. And when we opened for Robbie, no, I guess the other way around. I guess he opened for us because we were playing in Baton Rouge at the Metro. And Lisette Melendez opened, and then I think Robbie Neville was on stage. I don't remember the order. I think Robbie did go after us, now that I think about it. I think it was Lisette Melendez and then us. And you say Lisette Melendez. Remember the song Together Forever, the dance track? That's who she was. And but nevertheless, at the time, Robbie's big single was For Your Mind. I'm not after your body, I only want you for your mind. And he told me it was all kind of written tongue-in-cheek, do you like to meditate? What are your political views? Like we care about that stuff. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's just true. Number 9, this was from the early 80s. Went to number 1, if memory serves me correct. It's Nina's 99 Luftballons. And we all know it is 99 red Luftballons. But we all knew the chorus, and for many of us, it was our first foray into learning German. And we can thank the greatest generation that we speak English today. Number 8, it's Los Del Rio. And you say, but Steve, who is that? Everybody knows. Because you all did it. Whether you admit it today or not, you did it. It's the Macarena. It's true. And remember they had setting the world's record, like at these baseball stadiums, they would do the largest group to ever do the Macarena. And everybody did it. But it was silly. I mean, it really was. I mean, fun, I guess, is never silly. But it was a little silly. And it lasted longer than the 15 minutes probably should have. But there were T-shirts. And everywhere you went, everybody wanted to do the Macarena. Oh, it's fun. You got to do it, Steve. It's the Macarena. I'm guys, I don't like line dancing because I can really dance. And you know what? If we win a series this weekend, I may come out of retirement and go dance a victory dance at Hobie's. Maybe. We'll see. But it won't be the daggone Macarena, I can tell you that. Because your boy can still go, even in his 50s. Number 7, and I probably should have had this one a little bit higher. Because I've got some novelty tracks ahead of this. But, it's difficult to second guess yourself. But when I first put this thing down, I said, yeah, it's probably number 7. But it is an incredible love song from Stevie Wonder, who is a musical genius. It's incredible, man. Stevie Wonder's My Cherie Amour, My Love Forever. And I think that's an important aspect of life when you find people like that, I think that's an important aspect of life, to find the person that fits you. And that's the cool thing about love, right? And it's one of the things that I will share with you guys. I mean, I've been in so many of those relationships where you got to kind of pretend to be somebody you're not. It's well, she's hot. I can kind of put up with it. Not long term, you can't. Maybe you got to go out there and play the role, right, for a little while. And you kind of figure it out after a while. You're just making yourself miserable. But when you meet that person where you can just be your authentic self and you can just, I'm just me, and they love you anyway. Man, that's so special. Number 6, and I think one of these days I may order me some snakeskin boots. Yeah, not just so people will cry about it, but also too just so I can pull off this dance move. And you guys remember this too. He had the hair extensions, and that was very confusing during the video. Gerardo's out there dancing, and in one scene he's got the hair extensions in and a cowboy hat. And the next time he doesn't have the hair extensions in, and he's got on a do-rag, and it was confusing. But it was a pretty cool track called Rico Suave. I mean, just saying it, you kind of want to make it shimmy your shoulders a little bit. Rico Suave. Yeah, rich and smooth. And I can assure you they weren't. But the video was kind of cool. And they used to play that in the clubs, and the rap part wasn't very good either. Just kind of part of it. But nevertheless, Rico Suave, number 6 from Gerardo. Number 5, Complete Contrast. And everybody liked this thing, man. And it's so interesting. I was thinking about today about, some songs that I've written, how I'd like to compose them. And I thought, I kind of want to do like Front 242 or some Lords of Acid and maybe some Rammstein. I mean, I like that driving guitar beat, and it's probably the only vocal range I can pull off these days. But it's Du Hast from Rammstein, number 5. And if you've ever been to a Rammstein show, it is a wild ride, man. It is. And if you are the faint of heart or you're easily offended, let me encourage you, do not go YouTube them. Because you're going to see some things that might make you a little bit uncomfortable. And I like being uncomfortable, to be honest with you. I do. But a lot of interesting things with this band, for sure. Number 4, and probably a song many of you haven't thought about since it was on the radio. And they used to play this in the clubs too. It's Mellow Man Ace's Mentirosa. Yeah, and so it's part English, part Spanish. But, basically it's about a girl that's running around. And there's a vocalist too. There's you hear both sides of the story, But it's kind of a cool track. And it's got a cool sample on it, I think you'll dig it. But, you probably haven't heard that. Many of you young bucks have never heard it. And I would tell you, if there is a Mentirosa in your life, you probably need to listen to that. Number 3, and I absolutely loved this song when it came out. I was in middle school when it came out, and then the video comes out, and, we kind of knew who Falco was from the Der Kommissar days. But it's interesting. When this video came out, it was like the video was just wild. I mean, wild, and it wasn't anything like we had seen before. There's all of this Renaissance type period dress and stuff, and it's Rock Me Amadeus. And I love the fact they're getting out there and leading the orchestra, and but nevertheless, it's super, super cool. And if you don't know the song, I think you'll dig it. And again, it's kind of a novelty song. But, then he followed it up with the hit Vienna Calling. So Falco had more than his 15 minutes, but this is the one, when you say the name Falco, people are going to remember Rock Me Amadeus. And he had this very sleek European look. Yeah, he was a smooth guy. He was. Number 2, speaking of guys that were, if you've never seen the movie, you should. Lou Diamond Phillips played Richie Valens in the movie La Bamba. And I can't remember, was it Los Lobos that remade it? Yeah, Los Lobos remade the song, and it became a hit again on American radio. And it was on MTV, and it was basically a promotional piece for the movie, which was incredible. Lou Diamond Phillips was amazing in that movie. The best role he ever had was as Chavez in Young Guns, but nevertheless, man, this was great. And you got to see really, kind of the rise and the fall of Ricky Valens, and it was so incredibly sad, died in the plane crash, and he was a guy that didn't like flying. But La Bamba, great track. And I think you'll have fun with it. I mean, it's even if you don't know how to dance to it, there's just something about that song that makes you want to move. And it's technically a cover song, but Richie's the one that made it famous. But sticking with our Spanish theme here, this song was everywhere, and a lot of people considered Ricky Martin to be the sexiest man alive. I want to say that he was on the People magazine list at number 1. And former member of Menudo, if you remember them, it was a big deal. But Ricky Martin, Livin' La Vida Loca, and that video is wild too. It's like you look at that and you think, I'm going to go get a tan and learn to speak a little Spanish, man. If I can pull women like that, goodness. But man, that song is just so high energy, and Ricky does such a great job on the vocal delivery. And a lot of people, after he, kind of revealed who he really was, a lot of people are really critical. And my whole attitude about that is to each their own, right? I am a live and let live person. As long as you're not bothering me or my family, you can do what you want to do, right? Because you are the one that has to answer to your maker. Right? That's my attitude about it. You don't have to share my beliefs. You don't have to do any of that stuff, right? I mean, it's just, you don't have to live your life the way that I live mine, and vice versa. But it's kind of unfortunate. I mean, truly is. You know, like so many people like they want to find a reason to make the hero stumble. And there were so many people when Ricky Martin first hit the scene, everybody's like, this dude is phenomenal. But there's got to be something wrong. Nobody can be that good looking. Nobody can be that talented. There's got to be something. We got to find it. We got to dig, you know. And it's a shame that that is often associated with fame, that you have to find some way to kind of bring them back to the pack. And what's sad about that is even when they fall, they've still risen far greater than any of us ever have. And that's important to understand too. So that's your top 10 American hits with foreign titles. I dig them. I think you will too. And it's a list we can have fun with. You never know what's coming here. And we got a backlog too. I got to dig through some of it. I got to get Roy to pull up some of the things we hadn't done. Many of you have been waiting a long time for me to do your list. And sometimes I just come up with something that excites me and I do it. Or I hear a song out there or somebody releases a new album and you know something kind of tickles my fancy. And so we jump out here and do it. So if you have ideas for the top 10 list, reach out, let us know. Best way to do that is to hit up Roy Samonte, who I saw last night in Memphis. Got in the game. Yeah. Got to go to work today feeling a little bit better. Yeah. Find him on Twitter or X at Dogmatic67, DAWGMATIC 67. You can find our great list on Spotify under that same handle. Just push subscribe. It doesn't hurt you to do that, and that way our great list will auto-populate, and we'll keep you in the know with new music and cool music from before. So maybe some old favorites will pop back up, and I guarantee you there's going to be some songs on lists that people have forgotten about, and they're going to be jamming them tomorrow. I have people that send me messages all the time, screenshotting, they listen to the list. You know, we dig it, man. That's what we do it. So that's your top 10 list. And again, thank you as always for your support of the top 10 list. All right, next segment of the show brought to you by Campus Bookmart, a Starkvillian institution. Man, I love Campus Bookmart. You should too if you don't already. The best selection of Mississippi State merchandise in the known universe. You could look somewhere else. You could probably pay a little bit more, but why would you want to do that? You want to support a Starkville business, and you want to make sure that your maroon is true maroon. Look no further than Campus Bookmart. Whether it be apparel or gift ideas or diploma frames or a housewarming gift or everything you need to detail out your fan cave or your office or whatever you need, we need you to rep the brand. It's true. We're a proud fan base, and it's time we act like it. So get yourself some new Mississippi State merchandise on the way. Next time you're in town, go by and see their smiling faces. But if you live, let's say, in the mission field outside of the great state of Mississippi, you can still support a great Starkville business by going to campusbookmart.net. And by being a loyal Boneyard listener, we'll give you a phrase that pays, and that is BSR, which stands for Beautiful Steve Robertson. That gets you free shipping on all orders over $75. Any order less than $75, absolutely incomplete. All right. There have been some comings and goings with the Mississippi State men's basketball team. And I'm going to get you up to date on that. Okay, the first thing that we're going to talk about, your most immediate concern, is Josh Hubbard, right? He is declaring for the draft, but is not signing with an agent. So he will protect his eligibility and have the opportunity to return to Mississippi State should he not get the feedback that he desires. And my prediction is he's going to be back. That's how I feel today. But, Josh, again, kind of a smaller guy, great shooter. And I don't know that he had maybe the year that he needed to have to really get the attention of scouts. I think another year maybe with a point guard that can allow him to play his more natural position may help boost his stock and show what he's capable of doing. But, his size is going to be an issue no matter when he goes, right? And so education's important to Josh, but he probably owes it to himself. There's no risk in going, right? You can declare it, go to some of these workouts, get evaluated, find out what you need to work on. So there's really no downside to it if you're Josh. And again, the fact that he is not signing with an agent, again, leaves the door open for him to return to Mississippi State for another season in maroon and white. And that's what you guys are all worried about, right? I mean, it's like, hey, is it going to be a complete rebuild? Well, there's going to be a lot, right? So Kanye Clary, that was the first one to go in. We kind of teased that over at genespage.com. Prior to that happening, we got word that, hey, he's going to go in the portal as soon as it opens. And that kind of flies in the face of some of the things that we were kind of told early on. But things change. There are no, the only thing constant in life is change. It could be a scenario where the initial intention was that he was going to, he was going to come back and everything would be good. And then maybe after consultation with our staff and maybe his own family, you're like, you know what, hey, we're moving on. Speaking of moving on, Michael Nwokowo is headed to LSU. Now, I don't know how you feel about that, but I think that's fine. I don't have a beef with that. And I was told that Nwokowo did go into the transfer portal with a no-contact order, which means he likely knew where he was headed. And so that's fine. And, Michael, we appreciate his contributions to Mississippi State, but I don't think that he lived up to his billing. And some of that's our own people's fault. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like you get somebody like, oh, this guy's a difference maker for us because we don't have anybody quite like him. I don't think that was the case. And maybe there were some unfair expectations kind of laid upon him. But nevertheless, Nwokowo still in the SEC. His third school in 3 years. Left Miami, went to Mississippi State, now headed to LSU. So best of luck to Michael. But I think that's a scholarship that could be better used somewhere else. MJ Russell, and again, some of these names you're not going to be quite as familiar with. MJ Russell has also entered the portal. Jeremy Famina has also entered the portal, another big man. So State obviously needs some size there. Adrian Myers also goes in, and now Riley Kugel. And I've seen the reaction has been kind of mixed on this. Riley was a guy too, and again, I blame some of our own people for this. Riley went to Florida. Things didn't go as well as he expected, and Florida's playing in the Final Four now, right? So it's not like I think, and I hate to say it this way, but maybe Florida recruited over him. And I think I probably should have been to Mississippi State in the first place. Elected to move on after the coaching change. And he comes back, and maybe he's not the player that people forecast him to be. Now he moves on to his third school. He had some big moments with Mississippi State, but consistency was a real issue. I mean, I think that's why we've seen so many people speak so negatively about about him leaving. They're like, oh, well, that's fine. He wasn't any good. I think he was a piece, and I think we had to have him play some point at times this year to try to kind of shoehorn what we wanted to do offensively, and just things didn't go well. He had some games where 2 or 3 minutes in, you kind of felt like, well, Raleigh just doesn't have it tonight. And other times he hit some big shots down the stretch. But, again, appreciate his contributions to Mississippi State. On the women's side, Shakira Edwards has entered, and then Anisha Carrere has also gone into the portal. No additions to speak of yet on either side for Mississippi State men's or women's basketball. And the portal is going to be open for about 3 more weeks. Yeah, so we got plenty of time for other players to go in, and still plenty of time for people to make decisions. They really have up until the summer. I guess if they don't get picked up in time for summer school, they could be the fall. But the reality of it is that this process is really just kind of getting going. And some of these players too, at times too, people don't understand. A lot of people just kind of brand them as quitters. Sometimes they're encouraged to leave. Not just at Mississippi State, but around the country. People are like, hey, here's how we see you kind of stacking up next year. We've got this guy coming in at your spot out of the regular recruiting class, and we're going to go sign a guy in the portal. So you could be a scenario where you go from being, first team or second team or third team or fourth team. I mean, you may be in a scenario where the playing time you got this year, you may lose some of that. And so they're just kind of saying, we're just going to be honest with you. But we're kind of keeping an eye on Keyshawn Murphy, too. And I know a lot of you don't want to hear that, but you remember Keyshawn went in the portal last year and then withdrew from the portal and everything kind of worked out. Of course, Claudio Harris, eligibility is exhausted here, but you start looking at this, kind of where things sit, guys, there's not much coming back. Let's say worst case scenario that Josh Hubbard gets the feedback that he needs and stays in the draft and gets drafted. Because you're going to lose your top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lead scorers. Yeah, that's significant. I mean, it looks like a complete rebuild. And then you get down a little bit deeper, and Martavius Russell is gone, Jeremy Famina. I mean, it's going to be a completely different looking team next year. And that's going to require, a lot of rev share and NIL opportunities and the things of that nature too. So it's going to be a completely different team next year, with or without Josh Hubbard. Because as you guys know, Claudel Harris has exhausted his eligibility, as has R.J. Melendez, Cam Matthews, and Kanye Clary's left, and Michael Nwoko's left. So it's a completely different dynamic. And so we'll do our best to keep you abreast of the comings and goings over at genespage.com. It's a major undertaking, managing a roster in this day and time in college athletics, regardless of sport. I do think Chris Jans is a guy, too, because of his extensive background with junior college, is probably used to turning the roster over pretty regularly. And the last thing you want are guys to come here that are not going to make a contribution, to sit there on the bench and basically waste years of eligibility. That's not fair to us, not fair to them. So, again, every time that I see somebody is transferred, everybody automatically just assumes that they quit the team, they don't like us. Let me encourage you, let's get a little self-esteem, okay, and get a little reality check, because, again, many of these players are encouraged to leave. There are some that leave of their own volition, but we had several on the football side. When the portal opened, they went public and said, hey, I didn't want to leave. It wasn't my decision to leave. I think of Tobias Hinton, a guy that was a bit of a questionable take when we took him, and that's not a criticism of him. He was a guy that played edge in high school because it filled the need, right? And so he never really learned to be a linebacker until he got here at Mississippi State. And there were some other guys, obviously, that were more, in tune with the nuances of the game. And so it just never worked out for him. And he wanted to stay here. He loved it here. And he was more than happy to contribute in any way he could. But clearly there was not a pathway forward for him to see serious playing time. He was encouraged to leave, and he went and found somewhere else to play. He's going to be at Alcorn State now, and he'll probably get out there and dominate. And I wish him the best. You only get a short time in life to play sports. You don't want to spend it watching everybody else play. So you got to find it, an opportunity to get on the field somewhere, and they did. And so this is the case in everything. Baseball, basketball, men's, women's softball. If there are players that come up and then within like a year or two, it doesn't look like the light is coming on and they're going to be able to help you, you got to process them out. And it's the merciful thing to do. And that's one of the things that I don't think a lot of our fans appreciate. It is the right decision when you know that they cannot play at this level. This is not the Boy Scouts. This is the Southeastern Conference. And so that's the aspect of it I think that gets lost sometimes. A lot of these people think that, we lost so-and-so. A lot of times they lose us. And I feel like I repeat that every time the portal opens, because there are so many people that I believe within our fan base that have this defeatist attitude that everything bad happens to us. What it is you're just only acutely aware of it because this is the team that you follow. But if you look around college athletics and kind of back up for a second, you'll see that everybody's dealing with the same thing. And until they put some more guardrails around this thing, this is what you're going to expect, especially on the basketball side. I mean, the basketball side is going to essentially be, you're going to have some core guys that you recruit that stay with you, but by and large, it's going to be a hired gun every year. You're going to be bringing in different players every single year to try to put a competitive team on the court. Along those lines, too, I wanted to go back and if you remember our coverage of the coaching search that ultimately landed with Chris Jans. And our final three were Todd Golden, who went to Florida. And I remember they said, hey, I know this guy doesn't have a lot of experience, but this is a guy that kind of sees basketball in a different way. He's done some pretty cool things out at San Francisco. And lo and behold, Florida ends up hiring him. And I think, honestly, he's probably a good fit for Scott Strickland. And I mean that, I think those guys are very similar in how they look at things. And it's so interesting, to kind of see, Golden's kind of a buttoned-up guy. Strickland's kind of a buttoned-up guy. People tend to kind of hire and promote in their, in their same image. And what's interesting is, he worked with Bruce Pearl for a while. And so he was recommended to Mississippi State by Bruce Pearl and ultimately landed at Florida. But, he was 57-36 in 3 years at San Francisco. And one of those years, of course, was the COVID year. He goes 11-14. But his final year at San Francisco, before he takes the Florida job, they make the NCAA tournament and they go 24-10 overall. It's a good year. And it's a big jump, right? He gets to Florida. They get to the NIT. At 16-16, they go 9-9 in the league. So they got better as the year went on. And then last year, 24-12. They make the tournament. This year, they're in the Final Four. 34-4, and in the Final Four. So clearly, that was a good candidate for us. You guys know, obviously, what Chris Jans has been able to do, but let's just take a quick look. Let's look at some numbers here. And I do think Chris Jans is probably a better fit for us. I think his value system, and again, it takes a little while to kind of get things going, but Chris's final year in New Mexico State, 27-7, and they make the second round of the tournament. He made the tournament 3 of the available 3 tournaments, right? Because in 20, remember, they canceled the tournament, right? New Mexico State went 25-6 that year and won the Western Athletic Conference with an undefeated league mark of 16-0. So they were going to go to the tournament. And then, of course, we have like a different season in 2021. But without the COVID virus, Jans makes it at New Mexico State 4 out of 5 years. And obviously he comes here and he's made the tournament 3 years in a row. So Jans, again, historically, you look at this thing, as a head coach, he is a guy that gets his team to the postseason, and more times than not, it's the NCAA tournament. Now, in the NCAA tournament, he's been to 6 of them as a coach, and he's won 1 game. So we got to find a way to kind of get over the hump there. But I think most people feel like I do, is like, we didn't win as much as we wanted to this year, but we're headed in the right direction. I think that's a fair assessment. And then you look at our other guy, and I remember other people wanted to argue with me and say, no, Matt McMahon's our leading candidate. Like, no, he's not. And I think you look back in hindsight now, when you think about this, there were a lot. The camp was split, but I think most people feel like if we get McMahon or Jans, we've done well. Because McMahon had a great run at Murray State, made 3 tournaments out there. His final year at Murray State, they go 31-3, and they win the Ohio Valley Conference with an undefeated record. And he wins a game in a tournament. And so all of these guys, and it's so funny, you look at it in hindsight, Golden was probably the guy you'd say, hey, which one of these guys makes a Final Four within 3 years? Golden would have been pick number 3. You would never have picked it. Ever, right? You'd say, well, McMahon and Chris Jans have more experience. And I think you'd probably say McMahon has already won a couple of games in a tournament, and now he gets a chance to play at a program with more resources. Yeah, I think that's probably your Final Four coach. No, matter of fact, he has not made a tournament. At OSU, Matt McMahon is 45-48 and 14-35 in conference play. This year, the Tigers went 3-15 and finished 15th in a 16-team league. Now, I understand the very difficult situation that he took over down there. But all that understood, I think it's pretty safe to say we probably got the guy we needed to get, and probably the best guy of the guys we could get with Chris Jans. All right, final segment of the show brought to you by the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. If you're looking to bring a large group to town, and you should, look no further than the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. Just Google Stark Vegas Clubhouse, and you can peruse their Facebook page and see all the amenities available to you and your guest. The full-service kitchen, the wet bar, that great back porch area, the fire pit area. Still got some fire nights ahead of us. You can always sit around the fire. You can back up to get a little warm. But there's just something about having a fire that brings out memorable conversation. It just is. I don't know how that works, but it does. 5 minutes away from the Mississippi State campus, you can do your tailgating right there. Save the trouble of having to drag everything to campus. Yeah, true story. We've stayed there. 6 bedrooms, 2, soon to be 3 baths. Plenty of room for everybody to kind of spread out in the living room area and just enjoy being together. I encourage you to bring your friend group, your family group to the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. It is a great place to stay, and it's so conveniently located. Just out there past the Highlands, right off 182. And it's far enough off the road, you don't hear a lot of racket out there, so you can have some peace and quiet, plenty of parking. Super, super place to stay. Now, when you Google Stark Vegas Clubhouse, some booking options are going to pop up too. Airbnb, VRBO, you want to go that route, you can. But if you want to save some money, book through the Evolve website and use promo code BSR10. That's Beautiful Steve Robertson and the number 10, BSR10, and get 10% off your stay. You could pay more, but why would you, right? Just by listening to this show, you're saving some money. Stark Vegas Clubhouse, the best place to stay in the Golden Triangle. Now, we had the opportunity to speak to Jeff Lebby yesterday, and anytime that we have those big room opportunities, we make that content free over at genespage.com. We do. And so you can go read or watch everything that Coach Lebby had to say, or Coach Lamonis had to say. They had a scrimmage over the weekend. He kind of talked a little bit about that, kind of how things are going. And so I encourage you to go, we share it on socials, makes it pretty easy. But first question is, hey, first week of pads, what you think? Leb said since we put the pads on, there's been a bunch of back and forth. Defensively, we're showing some signs of real physicality and situational play, better all the way around, which has been really good to see. Yeah, for all of us too, right? We've continued to roll guys. We have so many new guys. We're getting a ton of reps, a ton of film to watch, so that part of it's been really good. One of the things that I learned during our observation period is that we ran the longest scrimmage of the Jeff Lebby era on Saturday. And I think that's a lot of it, when you begin to think about the depth that we have that maybe we didn't have last year. And here's what Lebby had to say. Yeah, total snaps are right at 160. Last year, we were never more than 120. So having 40 extra snaps because of bodies, postseason and offseason, and being able to practice the way we need to. Right now, we're practicing the right way. When we haven't been live, we've been able to continue that. We need to continue to get all the reps and all the work. That is significant, right? That was one of the things we talked about. We did not have a lot of meaningful depth last year, and you heard him talk about it. We have having to kind of roll guys in there on a scout team to play defensive line that had never played it before. And that's just no way to run an SEC program. He inherited a roster that had some holes in it. And so now we feel like we've filled a lot of them. We still got to go get a couple of offensive linemen. We'll take 3 if we can find 3 good ones. And that's the group that worries me the most. I mean, like when you go out there and you look at what our defensive line looks like, it looks like it did in those Jackie Sherrill era days. I mean, that's how it looks. Now, I don't know if those guys are going to play at the same level, but from a size standpoint, we look like an SEC defensive group, especially in that front 7. We haven't been able to watch a lot of scrimmaging, a lot of one-on-one type stuff, so I can't really tell you how well the DBs are playing, but Isaac Smith looks great. We got a lot of guys, for sure. Jamil Burrows is a guy, too. He and Jamarcus Moy, they just kind of jump out in practice. When you have a chance to watch them, we just didn't have anybody like that. And sometimes you just need a guy that can make a mess in the middle, right, and let the linebackers clean it up. You need a guy that can hold his ground. We didn't have anybody like that last year, and that's not a criticism of anybody. None of those guys signed themselves, right? They accepted an opportunity to play in the Southeastern Conference, and unfortunately, we had to take some of those guys before they were ready and push them out to play before they were ready. It looks like a different group, and so I expect to be a lot better against the run this year. I mean, how many times last year when we'd make it a game and then we couldn't get a stop because we couldn't stop anybody between the tackles, and so I think that's going to be addressed. But the offensive line group, we definitely need to hit some guys in the portal. We definitely do. And we'll have some official visitors coming up here in a few weeks. And we'll begin to get some commitments. We'll get those guys enrolled for for summer school. But, probably take one more DB. So I would say right now, best case scenario, you take 3 offensive linemen and then the best available DB, probably a safety. Now, we need Dwight Lewis to be good. We do. But I think the safety room is kind of coming into focus, but you could probably use one more body. And I think Jerron Manning's a guy that people aren't talking about that's going to be a really good player for us. Had a great year at Old Dominion, 2 good years at Colin, but I don't know that we have a lot of guys quite like him. One of the encouraging things that I have heard, just kind of talking with staffers, is how well Camario Taylor is picking things up. Now, he's a guy, too, we don't expect to play a lot this year, but he's one of those guys, too. All of a sudden, you get him in spring practice, and you get through one scrimmage, and people are like, Camario's picking it up. And the thing that I love about Camario is how he elevates people around him. And a staffer told me that people just kind of gravitate to him. They looked up one day in the multi-purpose room, and there's Camario sitting with a defensive lineman, all just kind of holding court with those guys. He's not going to spend a lot of time practicing with those guys. He'll practice against them. But he's becoming a leader of this team, and his time will come. And it reminds me a little bit of after we signed Dak. And in no way am I going to say Camario's going to be Dak. And if he is, man, we got some great years in front of us. But Dak was one of those kinds of people that valued all of his teammates. He didn't just stick with his guys. And you see some of that in Camario, how he can kind of move and kind of interact with guys and get to know them on a personal level. And people will play hard for a guy like that. That's big. Running back room looks completely different than it did last year. It's not even close. And one of the things that I asked Levy about, too, was, Davin Booth, people forget, he didn't get the benefit of spring last year. And so, and not to mention, even at Utah State, he's working out a little bit, but he's not getting hit. He's not running routes. He's not out there getting football ready. And so he gets here. We try to get him ready. And what was it, around halfway through the year, he kind of got rolling for us. And everybody said, we wish we had one more year with him. Well, because of this ruling, we do have another year with him. And he looks great. He does. He looks like a guy that knows what he's doing. And then Fluff Bothwell, go ahead and get ready for that. I don't know if there was a more significant signing in the offseason than that. But when you see this group, because like Johnny Daniels is a guy that ran hard for us last year, but Johnny probably got more carries than he needed. We needed a feature back, and it took a while to kind of get that figured out. He thought, and I said last year, when they announced that Kevon Lee was running back 1, I said, we're in trouble at running back. It's true. Kevon's a guy that plays hard, but he just doesn't have a lot of talent. I mean, this is a guy that you signed basically to be your third running back, maybe your second running back, and you got to run him out there as your first-team guy. It just wasn't a good situation. And so now when I look at that room, there's a lot more explosiveness in the room. Seth Davis is coming along too, and again, he doesn't get mentioned very often. I think a lot of it is just because they don't want to put anything on his shoulders. And Seth's out there in a yellow jersey, and a handful of guys out there in yellow jerseys, but it's going to be okay. But I'm eager for you guys to see the team, and I'm ready to see the team too. We don't get to see a whole lot in practice, but I want to see the whole show, right? Blake looks good. Crowan Hawk has done some good things too. I mean, just based on the limited times that we've been able to see him. But I think it's an important aspect of it to acknowledge the fact that I believe we have significantly upgraded our talent level. Now, does that equate to wins? That's a big question, right? And you certainly hope so, but you don't know so. Everybody else feels like they've upgraded their talent too. You got some non-contributors out and brought some guys in, and some of those guys will be non-contributors too. But from a physicality standpoint and from a measurement standpoint, we look like a different football team. And I know you guys are eager to be successful on the field. There's nothing better than those fun days at Davis Wade Stadium when somebody comes in here and those cowbells get to clanging and we get somebody on the ropes. The next thing you know, we gash off a big play and the student section's kind of just rolling through people. You love it. We haven't felt that way in a while, right? The last 2 years have been incredibly trying for this fan base when it comes to football. And, we lost our coach. We did. But now we're going on our third season since then, and we want to get back to having some sense of normalcy where we feel like that, hey, we can go out there and compete with just about anybody. There's always going to be some teams within this league. They're going to have more talent than us, and we're going to have to scheme around those guys. But the reality of it is I am encouraged. I can't say that I'm optimistic yet, because until we have a chance to see what this team looks like on the field, there's really no way to know. And then until they play somebody else, you really don't know. And I go back to that Toledo game, and those guys kind of dictated terms to us. And those are the things that kind of give you pause. It's like, hey, we should have been more talented than them, but they did what they wanted to do. You know, when you look at some of these other games, we're in it for a while, but it's like you're just kind of hoping, keeping your fingers crossed that something big happens and somebody makes a play, and nobody ever did. And so, again, last year was just kind of a throwaway year for Levy and the crew, but they've got more pieces to work with, and let's hope that it equates to more wins this year. If you hadn't done so, go to DutyNobleBook.com. You can get all my sports titles there, along with When the Bottom Falls. I've written 7 books, hard to believe. But you can get 6 of them there. That includes Flim Flam, Stark Villains, Alpha Dogs, Dog Pile, and The Dude, along with When the Bottom Falls. And come float with us over at True Rest Float Spa of Starkville. Call Dana today, 662-268-7601. I got a lot of baseball dads that say, I need to get my wife in there. Yeah, you do, but you need to get yourself in there too. If you're a person that just needs a break, you just need some time to yourself to kind of recoup, kind of re-energize yourself, relieve some stress. Maybe you got chronic anxiety or chronic pain. We may be able to help you. And so I encourage you, give her a call today at 662-268-7601. And again, this is our business. She doesn't just work there. We own the place. So our living is very much hitched to that wagon. So we appreciate your support. And of course, Gene's Page right now, 50% off the annual subscription price for a little bit longer. And so if you're not a member of Gene's Page, you certainly should be. Last month, 358 stories at Gene's Page. Through the first quarter of this year, 1,008 stories. That's the busiest quarter we have ever had in the history of genespage.com. And that's even the 247 site that we merged with, that's bigger than they've ever done either. So that's the biggest month in the history of Mississippi State sports coverage, 1,008 stories in a quarter. And so I don't know if we'll get to 5,000 stories this year, but we certainly feel confident we'll get to 4,000. And you can be more in the know than everybody else. And even if you're not a subscriber, we give a lot of content away for free. So when you're looking for Mississippi State news and notes, you just come on over to genespage.com, and you can peruse through all of our free content. We make all those videos, post-game videos, free. You can watch those too. You don't have to have a subscription to be able to enjoy those. And so I share that with you because we want you to come be a part of our merry band of misfits, and we're giving you the opportunity to do so for 50% off the annual subscription rate. Hey, until next time, it's all of our lives in a way we make more friends than enemies, and people can see a difference in the way we live.